So for this one, Will's got the right idea. If I have a positive 18 here, and I need it to be a 0, we can't find x-intercepts if y is something other than 0. So let's subtract 18 on both sides, and that's going to give us something that equals 0. Then the problem is, well, I can't combine 18 with either of these things, because 18 does not have a variable. They're not like terms. So I'm just going to tack it on to the end. 4x squared minus 21x minus 18. Now, I can go ahead and solve this by factoring. First of all, do these numbers, 4, 21, and 18, have anything in common that I could factor out? Because that would be very helpful. I don't think so. Nothing there, right? 21's not a multiple of 4, neither is 18. 21's not a multiple of 2. Those are only options for the 4, so we can't do that. So let's just jump straight into the x method. 4 times 18 should give me a negative what? Heard someone say it, 72. I have a negative 21 on the bottom. My denominator is a 4. So this one's going to take a little more thought, but I need two numbers that will multiply to make negative 27. I'm sorry, negative 72. Got a little dyslexic on that. So multiply to make a negative 72. But if I add those numbers, I get a negative 21. And let me direct you a little further with this. When I multiply them, I get a negative number, which means what? One is positive and one is negative, right? So keep in mind, one of them's positive, one of them's negative, which means that when I'm adding them, I'm actually finding the difference between them, which is kind of a weird way of thinking about it. So I need two numbers. They add to make negative 72, but they multiply. They multiply to make negative 72, but they add to make negative 21. Raise your hand when you think you know the numbers that we need. Let me further the hint. The two numbers you need are 21 spaces apart normally. Like, don't worry about positive, negative. The numbers themselves are 21 spaces apart on a number line if you weren't worrying about signs. Raise your hand if you think you have an idea. Right? 24 and 3, but one of them needs to be negative. The 24 should be negative. Good. So negative 24 and positive 3 will accomplish this. They multiply to make negative 72, but they add to make negative 21. Please don't forget to reduce the fractions if you can. And negative 24 over 4 definitely reduces, makes negative 6 over 1. So, now, what I would like you to please pay attention to, because I said we are going to develop a shortcut. Look at what we've done here. And then when we get to the final answer, hopefully you see what the connection is. My binomials should be 1x minus 6 and 4x minus 3. And again, this equals 0. So let's split them in half. 0 product property. X minus 6 equals 0. 4x minus 3 equals 0. And we'll solve them separately. This one I think we all see is going to be a 6. If I add 6, we get x equals 6. Here, though, I have to add 3. So 4x equals 3. Then divide by 4, so x equals 3. Oh, sorry, this was a plus 3. So negative. And these are my two answers. So when I was all done, x equals positive 6, and x equals negative 3/4. Now, if you look back through the other work that you've done throughout this problem, there should be a very clear, direct connection between the final answers you got and some of the work you did earlier. Can someone raise your hand and point out to us, where is that connection? At a certain point, you could have stopped and not done any more work and known exactly what the final answers are. And it's about halfway through this problem. One person sees it so far. Two people. Getting a few more. Okay, Letty, what do you see? In the X method?
Yeah.
Where in the X method? Exactly. So all that this is, negative 6 over 1, that would be negative 6, right? Change the sign, it's positive 6. Positive 3/4, change the sign, negative 3/4, and it always works this way. So there is a shortcut available there. If you've done the X method correctly, those two sides are your final answers. So if you need to, you can use that. Otherwise, zero product property works just as well.